Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, hey, this is Alex. This is the Ramble, and we're here until midnight tonight on GabNet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Larry Bubbles Brown, who has allergies today.
Allergies year-round now, apparently.
Is that the thing? They're year-round?
Yeah, I guess. God, it's clogged up and tired and it's crappy.
Oh, boy. Well, your life is miserable. Okay.
Yes, and getting more miserable with age. It's
hey, how old are you now? You're like 67, 68, somewhere around there?
Oh, I've hit the 7.
Did you hit the
series,
7-0? I'm still like 14 years older than you. Wait till you get to be my age, if you make it. You know? Which no doubt.
Someone told me when they hit their 70s, they noticed everything really slowed down.
I noticed it at 80. Up until 80, I seem to be okay. Are you there? Oh, boy. We lost him. What do you know? We lost him. Well, I will just call him again. And he's probably still on the line. Let's see. I have to do it a couple of times until he realizes he's lost me.
Okay.
Boy, this Skype just has done this a lot recently. You know.
You noticed it at 80?
Yeah, I noticed it at 80. I think prior to that I didn't. I'll tell you when I first... Actually, I noticed it, I think, after my prostate operation. There was a decline, and I think there was a decline from the surgery. I think it caused a little bit of it, you know. So, but, you know, it's things like memory. I'm lightheaded all the time. My sense of balance is off. I mean, it's those kind of things. And I suppose I shouldn't complain because I'm about to make 84. So, you know, spending that much time of my life not being a digestible for worms, you know.
That's why we have to decide now how we're going to be disposed of, which I've been thinking about. I don't want to be buried.
Well, my wife wants to cremate me. And
that seems to be the way to go.
Well, see, I wonder how much of your remains you need after death. In other words, let's say there is that wonderful place you go to. Well, if you go to it without your kidneys or something, you know, come on. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. But I'm saving up for the afterlife, okay? But anyway, she wants to cremate me, and that's why I'm hoping I live longer than her. Then I can decide what happens to me. By the way, you want an interesting little fact? I just found out by watching The Daily Show, and I did not know this. If you're British and you die without a will, where do you think your money goes?
Probably to the state.
Not really, but you're close. It goes to the king.
Wow.
Yes. King Charles, that's his name now. King Charles gets all your money.
Well, that family is amazingly wealthy. They don't need it.
Well, all these people are dying and not making wills. That's how they're rich. But
intestate. I think it's called dying intestate when you have no will.
Yes, that's what it's called. But you know, here, what happens to it? What happens here? I think it's given to the state, isn't it?
Here it goes. There's a they have a list of they go by family members, and then if they run out of that, then it goes to the state.
Really? In other words, it can go to the closest family members.
It would go to the closest family member. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you had a sister or a brother, it would go to them. And
Because I imagine a lot of people die without wills. I mean,
I'm sure most people do.
especially younger people. I mean, do you have a will?
No.
See? Good example.
Yeah.
You don't have a will. Where are those millions going to go after you die?
I wish.
Yeah. But where do the millions go? Where would your stuff go?
It would go to my sister.
Yeah, but how do you know that? See, if you don't have a will, if you make a will, it's pretty definite who gets stuff. I mean, it maybe goes into probate and there's a lot of things like that. But in the end, you've said I want to give $10,000 to my sister or whatever. That's written in stone pretty much. Just it takes the time to get it. I got willed a lot of money by someone recently, and it's taking forever. It's been close to 10 months since the death of that person.
Wow. I heard that. That grinds forever.
Yeah, I'd like to get it before I drop dead. And be able to use it and have fun. But the point is that if you don't have a will, it just she may not get anything. Lawyers might get it all. So
right. So
it's best.
What you can do is if you don't have a lot of property, you've got bank accounts and stuff, you could just make her a beneficiary.
Either that or signed onto the account.
Yeah.
But it's not bad to have a will made, and you can get them made pretty cheaply. In fact, Marjorie sent away and had ours made, which is fine. They're legal and they're binding, but once we get a little bit of money, I'm going to get a lawyer and make up a really proper one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. These are things, folks, that we all think about at this age.
Well, the fun thing to do at our age is look at famous people who we've outlived.
Well, I've outlived. Who have I outlived? Who died? Somebody big died, and I can't remember who it was. But anyway, I don't like outliving those people. Isn't fun either, because every day you wake up, another person's died that's younger than you, and that you spent your whole life like admiring or being a fan of, and they're now dead. That's it. And then you begin.
I was looking at people that have a short life, like Steve McQueen died at 50.
Yeah. And he died.
Elvis 42.
Elvis was a drug thing, right? Basically.
It looked like he'd had a few pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
And the place you don't want to be found is on the toilet.
No.
Like name famous people who have died on the toilet. Elvis. And how about Lenny Bruce? Lenny was found on the toilet. Or maybe...
There was a story about EMTs here, and they say the majority of people that are found dead in apartments are on toilets because they die, they get an aneurysm straining.
Well, then I better not strain that.
Yeah, you better get that fiber.
What did he die of? Taking a shit?
Yeah, exactly.
You'd hate that to be your obituary in the paper. Alex Bennett died today of taking a dump. Well, oh boy, what a way to go. So anyway, speaking of deaths, your friend Dana Carvey is somebody who employs you a lot, right?
Yes.
And Dana, his son just died. His 30.
Yeah, it was horrible. I don't have any information at all. I've got a couple of texts from Dana, and that was it. But
yeah, it's horrible. It's just terrible.
I know. I don't know how you get over something like that.
I've never been a parent, neither of you, but I think we can both be look at the problem that exists when your child dies, because that's the last thing you expect. That's a person you think is going to live after you.
Exactly.
And then they die. And what was it? Was it drugs? It was something like that.
I thought so. I haven't. I thought the paper said it was an accidental overdose. I thought that was what the headline said.
Yeah, yeah. It just, it's terrible. I've so felt for him, So if you talk to him, give him my regrets.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I just kind of feel like when somebody dies, I kind of like to leave people alone and not talk to them for a while. So.
Well, also because you feel uncomfortable doing it?
I wouldn't feel uncomfortable doing it, but I just think when I've had deaths in the family or something, I just don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. So.
Well, that's why when somebody dies or in a situation like that, and I have to write them or tell them something, I just say, I heard about it. I'm so sorry, and and then after that, just leave them alone for a while.
Yeah.
Because I know that when my father died, what I was sick of were people who would come up to me and go, "I'm so sorry for your loss." Now, when they say that...
then it's like you're reliving it again.
Well, you go, couldn't they come up with something slightly better? My favorite is, well, I never liked him anyway.
That's a good one.
That Penn Jillette taught me that. He said, when somebody comes up to you and says, I just broke up with my girlfriend, always say, I never liked her anyway. He said, because nobody wants to hear, you lost her? She was wonderful. That's not what you want to hear. And when somebody dies, everybody comes over to you saying the same thing, and I would hold it against them, except they mean it well, and they're uncomfortable in the situation. So they're saying the only simple thing they can say that seems to be correct, and that's I'm so sorry for your loss.
You get flooded with cards, and then that means you got to return them. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, but we're all very uncomfortable in those kind of situations. It's not something that we feel good about. And
it's the most helpless feeling in the world. There's nothing you can do. I don't know what you can say. It's just horrible.
You can just say, I'm here for you, is what I usually say, if you need anything. And then I leave it at that. That seems to say it all. Like our friend Chuck Farnham. You remember Chuck Farnham?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have Chuck Farnham does shows with me every now and then. And his mother just died. And he wrote me about it. And I wrote him back and I said, text. And I said, I said, there's nothing I can really say here except that, if you need me, I'm here to talk to you. And I said, I could tell you how my thoughts and prayers are going to you and so on. I said, but you're so sick of hearing that.
Right.
Because I know my father died, and then later my mother, same thing. People come up to me, they all said identically the same thing. Either thoughts and prayers or I'm sorry for your loss.
And you say, I don't believe in thoughts and prayers. So.
I don't believe in thoughts and prayers. Well, the one I always hate is when somebody's been in the military, for whatever reason, thank you for your service. Now, I was in the Navy, okay? I was in the Navy for 2 years. I was in the Navy when the Vietnam War broke out, okay? So I'm a Vietnam vet, technically, all right? Do you think anybody ever says on Veterans Day, thank you for your service? No. And they shouldn't, because I did it all in Hollywood. But still.
Yeah. You're in Hollywood.
Yeah, thank you for your service. Yeah, well, hey, enemy planes never got past Santa Monica Boulevard, and I consider my job done. Okay?
You could say I didn't have a choice.
I actually had a choice. I could have not joined the Navy and been drafted into the Army. So I really You know, it was kind of like, do you ever remember the movie Duck Soup with the Marx Brothers?
Yeah.
And Harpo is walking around with a sandwich sign on his back and front that reads, "Join the Navy and see the Army at work."
That's great.
You know, and I took that to heart, so I joined the Navy. Also, everybody told me the food in the Navy was the best food of any military service. So I figured, you know, what are they going to feed me? Steak every night might be wonderful. So I joined the Navy. Boy, was that wrong. You know, I can't remember ever getting a scrumptious meal in the Navy. I mean, it was okay, but you know, it wasn't splendid. But the Army supposedly was the worst when it came to food.
Yeah, it had to be better than the Army, from what I've heard. So.
Yeah. So, anyways, you get older, things happen. Like, do I sound like I'm okay? Am I speaking properly and all of that?
Yeah, and your voice sounds very strong. Because one of the things I know, when people get older, one of the things their voice gets weird. They're kind of squeaky and.
Well, I think when I'm doing this and I go into talk show mode, that I project more than I normally do the rest of the day around the house.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I were just talking to you in conversation at home, it'd be a little older. But no, the reason I ask you is because lately I've had a hard time with the front of my mouth being a little on the puffy side, or I feel like spittle is coming out, you know, and it's very important to me to be able to enunciate. You know, that's one of the things that you do as an announcer. And so you learn to use your mouth, and especially, and I think it may have had something to do with my tooth being pulled or something, but you don't want your teeth to change too much, because that's how you say your words. You know, your palate, your tongue goes against your teeth and it says a word. And if it's not just right, and I've just felt the last, a couple of months or so, that it isn't just right. So
it's still good.
Yeah, these are all the things, folks, that you have to look forward to. I think of myself as the Sacagawea of aging, in that I'm like the Lewis and Clark expedition, going out there on that long plane of aging. And I'm out front of everybody with my hand up to my forehead, looking ahead to see what the terrain is like, and then reporting it back to you.
Back to us, yes. Well, me, you've actually lived twice as long as Elvis.
You're right. You're right. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you know what I thought? I was thinking last night. You see, I mean, as you get older, you think these things. Like, I don't believe in. Do you believe in heaven?
No.
Do you believe in hell?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
If there is a hell, this is
it. This is it. Okay, but you know, I keep trying to think about. Well, soon I'm going to be gone. I don't know how soon. Could be 10 years. Could be tomorrow. Right. At my age, it could be any second. Oops. See you later, bubs. Anyway, but, you know, you think about these things, and then you wonder. There are a couple of things that come back to me, and I'm sure you've wondered this too, because you're the kind of guy that wonders about these sort of things. What's it all about? You know, it was like, I think when Marlon Brando died, were his famous last words? Is that all there is?
He said, one day you'll be on your deathbed. You're going to look up and go, what the fuck was that all about?
What the fuck was that all about? And really, I begin to wonder, I mean, what is the reason for us being here, living these, well, in my case, 84 years, if it isn't preparing us for something more important? Because this isn't important.
No, but I think humans always think there has to be a reason for something, and maybe there is no reason.
Somebody referred to it once as doing time on planet Earth. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, But what's it all about? I mean, why have I, for instance, okay, in your case, why have you created this whole legacy of comedy? Okay? You've written a lot of jokes in your time, right? You know,
yes,
created,
that will not be remembered.
What happens to it? Why did you do that?
I think we're just here. We're just filling time. So we got to find something to do, either write jokes or do radio shows.
Yeah, but do you really think that we were put on this earth just to do 80-some years, 90-some years, and then everything that you accomplished dies with you?
I know.
All your ability and so on and so forth. I mean, look at a guy like J. Robert Oppenheimer, all right, as an example, since the movie came out and everybody knows who he is. This man was brilliant. I mean, these are the kind of people that you and I, we probably look like ants to them, you know, because they're that intelligent.
Right.
And then they die. Well, where did that intelligence doesn't go anywhere? It just disappears. And all those years of gaining all that knowledge and ability and so on, all of a sudden one day it's nothing. I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me at all. So
on with the wind.
Yeah. So I mean, isn't there something that maybe we're being prepared for? I have no idea. Yeah.
That sounds like you're hoping for something, but I don't think there is.
I mean, I imagine there are a lot of assholes in heaven, because if there aren't, then what has this life prepared me for? You know, because there's nothing.
But like your father said, you've been dead before. It was like all the time before you were born.
Well, you know, what was it like before we were born? You want to get frightened about something? Come on. I mean, you probably don't remember anything before, say, 4 or 5 years old, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's this one kid, this 3-year-old kid that was in Gaza and kidnapped. And they returned the kid finally, and everybody breathed a sigh of relief. But everybody says, oh, this kid's going to be scarred for life because both her parents got killed in front of her. And I'm going, if my parents were killed in front of me at 3 years old, I don't think I would remember it.
Probably not.
You know, the only thing is I would grow up without parents. I'd be different than all the other kids who do have parents. But I'm wondering how scarred she's going to be for the rest of her life because of that incident. And when how far can you remember?
I think I can vaguely remember something, maybe 3.5 or 4.
3.5 or 4. Okay, I can't remember 3. I think I can remember 4 because I remember drowning. That's my first.
Yeah.
That's my first memory back then. Was my parents were at the Russian River. I went in to swim, and I couldn't swim. I didn't swim till I was in my teens, actually, or maybe just before my teens. And I started drowning, and my parents, somebody took me out of the water, and did this thing where they, resuscitated me or whatever, and all I remember were bubbles all over my face. That's how it felt, and that is the first memory in my life.
So you almost drowned.
Yeah, that I can remember, and I think that was at age 4, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But beyond that, I mean, I can't. You can't remember when you were 2 and when you were 3. And you should be able to, because you get a lot of warmth and affection, and your mother's holding you and things like that. You should be able to remember that, but you don't.
Maybe you'll have maybe that kid will have a repressed memory of what happened.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. You and I if anybody would remember before he was like 3 years old, it would be Bubbles. And if Bubbles doesn't, nobody does.
We should find out that there must be some savant that probably does remember when he was 1 or something.
Well, there are people who remember their past lives. Shirley MacLaine. You know.
Yeah, a little loopy there, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, is it loopy to say I remember my past life? I mean, maybe you can. Who knows? I mean, I don't think there was a past life, but you know, what the hell, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been a good little conversation, even though it probably depressed the hell out of the rest of our audience.
I know people don't like to talk about death, but
We do. It's a hobby.
well, we don't avoid reality.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Bubs, time's up.
Time's yeah.
Yeah,
That's
time's
what they
up.
say when you die.
Yeah, that's the same thing they say when you die. Anyway, want to thank you for your participation today.
Sure.
Let's do it next week, okay?
We will.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, everybody. How are you? It's Friday. It's a Friday edition of our fine little program, and if you want to join it, just go. Best way to find out how to get here is to go over to gabnet.net, and then there over on the side it says click here if you want to join us on the on Zoom, and that will take you right there. I don't think you even have to have Zoom on your machine. I think that will take you to like a browser that will show it to you. But anyway, it's the easy way. And we encourage new listeners. It's just we're very careful to weed out the bad ones by going to a picture of me while I'm letting the person on. And then if they look like they're legitimate, we just let them on. And once you're legitimate, we'll remember you forever. You know, we'll cling to you like grim death. Okay? So anyway, that's our history here, what we got to do. Anyway. Let me set my mic right so that you can hear me okay. I always you never see my microphone, do you? No. Because I think that's unprofessional. Well, in television, you know, you maybe have a lavalier. I do have lavaliers, but I don't use them. In television, you have lavaliers, and sometimes you may have a microphone in front of you. But most of the time, I just don't think it's very professional to have a mic showing. But everybody who does podcasts loves to show their microphones. Oh, look what I bought. See, I bought this big thing, and it's got a big windscreen in front of it and all of that. If you saw the mic I have here, it's very undramatic. You know, it's a beautiful, nice mic made by Elgato. But it's right below. If I put my hand where it is, and then I raise my hand, you see, it's right, just right there. Okay, but I hide it. I just don't. I like the magic of video, you know, that you don't just show what microphones you have, you know, and so it's unprofessional. But then again, most podcasters are. All right. Yeah, I'm an old fart. I think they're unprofessional. How can you say that, Alex? They're so good with their mystery programs and everything. Yeah, right. Anyway, I think there are about 3 people waiting to come on. Who knows who else will come on tonight? But these 3 are 3 lovely people. There you have the lovely, and there is a 4th person coming on here. There's a fit. Actually, with me there'll be 5. There's Alan. Okay, there's Jeff. Hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Yeah.
Couldn't speak.
Are you? Yeah, I think he's got it okay. I got it. What'd you do? I know because you were up early. You were on the line about a half hour ago, and I think your wife came over and made sure that everything was right, didn't she?
Nope.
Nope. You did it yourself. Son of a gun.
That's what happens when you buy new glasses.
Bravo. And hello to Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Good, how you doing?
Yeah. He always comes on initially looking like he's tired and, okay, how are you?
Probably is tired.
And then you say, what do you think of the current blah, 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 and then he gives us a big lecture. You know, so he's an active guy, but you got to just poke him a little. You know?
He's also employed, unlike the rest of us.
Well, wait a minute. Is Jeff employed? No. Am I employed? Well, is this employment I have here?
I think so.
You think
Yeah.
so?
But, you know,
Well, I treat it like it's a job.
hobby,
I mean,
okay?
I treat it like it's a job. I mean, it goes right on at the exact minute that the show's supposed to start, and goes off relatively at the right time. And you know, it's on every night when I say it's going to be on, unless I put up a thing that says it isn't. And then the show after me, of course, is very exciting because you don't know whether it's going to be on or not. So it, you know, there's a certain excitement there that it has. I won't tell you what the latest thing with Jack is that I've had to do with him for the last 3 nights, but it's hilarious. So anyway, I think Jack, because he's had a lot of medical things lately, I think he has a hard time with comprehending certain things. Okay, because I know that after I had an operation, after I went through some medical stuff, for a couple of weeks after that, I was a little, you know, it was not myself. Okay,
Absolutely.
huh?
I said absolutely.
Yeah, so that
From
happens.
my own experiences.
Yeah, that
Panel's
happens. Oh,
not
you know,
showing
I know
on.
the panel is not up. I just realized that. See, that's what happens when I get older. The forgetting stuff I told you about. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is the citizens panel. So anyway, you know, so I don't, I kind of help him with this stuff because I know it's kind of a little rough right now for him.
A little?
But, well, don't be nicer than that.
I am nice.
You know, I mean, you're a regular caller of his, but be nice about it. You know, it's not easy. And the thing is that I'm kind of sympathetic because as I've gotten older, as they put me on certain medicines, I forget stuff. You know, stuff I shouldn't forget, things that are routine with me. Like the other day, I found out that I didn't post the shows so they would show up on iTunes. And it's just one of those little things. I never doing everything. I overlooked that.
I don't think you can blame the medicine all the time, all seriousness.
No, I think
As people get older, they get more forgetful.
Well, you want me to go online and tell you what it says the side effects of pregabalin are?
No, I know. I haven't taken it, but I know.
Yeah, it's forget. Am I right? It's forgetting. You forget stuff.
Yeah. It has memory issues. Anyhow.
Yeah. Again, you're being very nice to the ill people here. Thank you so much.
I'm old and forgetful too. I turned 65 in less than 30 days.
Oh, are you going to turn 65? Oh, you old.
Yeah, well,
old.
I hope so.
You old.
Today is my first day on Medicare.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're going to find out. You're going to find out how much the government really thinks of you.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
really have.
you're going to find out that the government only thinks you're worth 20%. Excuse me, 80%.
One of my prescriptions was $50, name brand, for 100-day supply yesterday. Today it's $250.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Back off. Before you got Medicare, I mean, do you officially have Medicare right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
December 1st.
All right. So I don't understand why you were paying that much before, and now you're paying more now. What is that all about?
I'm paying more under Medicare because it's a non-preferred name brand.
Yeah.
And that's a level 4 or whatever they call it.
You didn't go out and get what do you call it?
Medicare Advantage.
Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, well, I live and learn.
Because you don't have Medicare.
No, I got Kaiser.
Yeah,
which I've had most of my life, and I know how to manipulate them. So
Kaiser might actually be okay. I don't know about their Advantage plan, but the trouble with Advantage is that when you the reason a lot of these companies want you to go with Advantage is that what happens is, and if anybody knows better, set me straight. What they do is they the insurance company that you sign up with then takes over your Medicare account. and Medicare is no longer responsible for it. They are kind of being Medicare.
Absolutely.
Only it's an insurance company who isn't, believe it or not, as easy to deal with as the United States government in this matter. And that's why I tell people, get supplemental. It's going to cost you about $300 a month or more, but man, you walk away, you don't pay anything. You
don't need supplemental with an Advantage plan.
No, I said
Right.
take an Advantage supplement. You can't get a supplemental plan if you have Advantage.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
So the advantage for me getting the Advantage plan, sorry for the play on words, but is that I've been a Kaiser member for a long time, and I got really good doctors, and they're all on one campus or piece of property, including hospital emergency.
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this question: Doesn't Kaiser accept Medicare?
They do.
Okay, so what you do is you take Medicare, and you have them accept your Medicare, and then you take supplemental.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see, as your
I didn't think about that. I'll have to look into that.
As your secondary, you may not be able to change it till next year. I don't know.
That's okay.
Well, we're still in the enrollment period until December 7th, so he could change it until December 7th.
Oh yeah, you might be able to do that.
I'll live with it for a year and see how.
Call Kaiser and ask them. They might be able to help you through all of this.
Okay.
What do you see? This is what our show has become, folks. What kind of Medicare do you have? How about you, Charlie? What do you have, the supplemental or the Advantage?
Well, I have Advantage because that's what the state of Texas pays for.
Oh, I see. Because you have
Yes. I worked for 30 years for the state of Texas, and so they pay 20%, and then Medicare pays the other 80%. I haven't paid a dime.
Well, wait a minute. But do you have Medicare and then whatever the state of Texas gives you, or have you been moved over to Advantage?
I'm moved over to Advantage. I'm with United Healthcare Advantage, Medicare Advantage, but it's a special program with the state.
Okay, and it takes care of everything.
If they start denying too many people, they'll switch.
You have to pay for your prescription drugs?
The state covers my prescription drugs.
Oh, right on.
And so I pay almost nothing for prescription drugs.
Well, today I went through
like $5 or $10 copay.
Today, Marjorie and I were changing our prescription service because the insurance company we were with, which was AARP, a prescription through, I think, United Health, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. They suddenly decided, they sent us a thing, they're upping the premium every month, double what it was.
Wow.
It went from like $40 to $80.
Holy moly.
And so we called our guy and we said, what are you going to do about this? And he looked at our drugs and blah, 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 and he put us on Cigna. He said, this is only going to cost you $20 a month. So he said, fine. I said, is all my stuff covered? They said, all your stuff's covered. I said, if all of a sudden I get some tragic thing happening to me and I have to get a very expensive drug, will they cover it? He says, yeah, they'll cover it. So I'll believe him, okay? But I never use my prescription drug service because what I do in the prescription drug service now, and in most of them, the copay, or not the copay, the minimum, the deductible is $500, okay? And so I found that the difference between buying all my drugs without my prescription service at Costco is cheaper when you throw in that $500 deductible. So I just pay, whatever they charge me. It's amazing. 3 months supply of boner pills, is like $25.
See, I don't have a deductible yearly for medical or for drugs, and I pay $5 to $10, or depending on a 30-day or 100-day supply for any generic drug, and all the drugs I take are
generics are usually cheaper all the way around.
I only have one name brand drug, and it's this one that's because it's not a preferred drug, they now prefer the generic that doesn't work for me.
Well, the
And
generic.
so I want the name brand that does work for me.
In most cases, the generic should work for you.
Yeah, well, most generics work for me, but these are eye drops for people with severely dry eyes.
Restasis?
The Restasis doesn't work with a shit. Excuse me.
Okay.
Doesn't work with a darn. But they have another company came out with one that has double the chemical in it and has nanoparticles. A couple of years ago, it's called Sequa, Cequa, and that works great. I never need eye drops anymore.
Here's the thing: a lot of times, if it's an exceptionally expensive drug to begin with, Costco won't cover it, won't take it. But I could go to using my regular prescription service. But you might have to get what they call an exception, or you have to get
Kaiser's going to cover this. It's like $1,300 is the cheapest I could find it.
Yeah.
A 90-day supply, and it's going to cost me a $200 copay. So
yeah, well, anyway,
I'll just pay it.
How about you, Jeff? Do you have the Advantage or do you have the supplemental?
Both, I think.
No, you can't have both.
No, you can't have both.
Sound like what you were just talking about that you had taken.
Medicare.
Well, you have Medicare, and then what's your secondary?
AARP.
AARP.
Yeah, but what is it? Is it Advantage or supplemental?
Yeah.
It's a gap.
It's a gap.
Yeah. Don't ask me.
Wait a minute. The gap is in prescription drugs. I'm talking about your regular medical.
I
Like
think
if I go to the hospital?
AARP is a Advantage program.
Well, no, I had AARP supplemental. They have both.
Yeah,
they have both.
They sent me 100 different join our supplemental thing from AARP.
Yeah.
So
Here's my medical.
So we have Medicare and then AARP, United Healthcare. I call it a gap policy.
Advantage or supplemental?
It must be supplemental.
Probably.
I don't know.
You pay a nice fee for it every month, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, then that's supplemental.
Supplemental.
Yeah, but the great thing about supplemental is you won't go in the hospital. They'll take out your kidney or do whatever they got to do, and you walk out and you don't pay a penny.
We hardly pay for anything, and Jeff's in the doctors a lot. I can't remember the last time you got a bill.
Yeah, well, they're losing money on him, but
Oh boy. All right, guys, have fun.
Okay,
All right, Pam,
sweetheart.
take care.
Good to see you again, Pam. Two very nice people, by the way. If you ever get a chance to have lunch with them, do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anytime.
But anyway, hello, Ray.
Hi.
You're on Medicare, right?
Medi-Cal, because my income's so low.
Oh, really? You poor thing.
I'm not old enough for Medicare yet, I don't think.
starving actor.
Just prematurely gray.
I don't know. I keep having these problems where I would like to have so bad an income, okay, that I could get some of these little extra perks like Medicaid instead of Medicare.
Okay. Let me tell you the best perk I ever had from this. So 2 days ago, I parked in one of those spots in the city where they tow your car after 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they towed my car. I won't go into why I didn't see
Why
it.
was that an advantage for you?
Okay. So normally it's $685 to get your car out of impound and a $100 ticket, $785. But because I'm on Medi-Cal, I showed her my insurance card, and it only cost me $100 to get my car out of impound, and the ticket was $100. So it cost me $200 instead of $780.
It cost you $200?
$200 total. $100 ticket and $100 out of impound. Instead of
out of
$680
impound.
out of.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that you can use your medical plan to get.
Yeah.
out
She
of-
asked me. She said, "Are you on unemployment or on Medi-Cal or anything like that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm on Medi-Cal." She goes, "Well, can I see your card?" And I showed it to her. She said, "Okay, it's $100." And I said, "What would it be without that?" She said, $685.
You know something? They shouldn't even charge you for that. They should.
Yeah.
What? Oh God! When I
It was a block on Pine Street that I didn't even know.
When I was growing up in Marin County and elsewhere, there wasn't a single parking meter anywhere. And
they
then all
hadn't
of a sudden,
developed them yet.
all of a
They
sudden,
have these streaks where after 3 p.m. on weekdays, if you don't move your car, they tow it. No matter what, even if you paid your freaking meter.
Wow.
The worst ticket I ever got was a $200 ticket in Italy. In Italy. And
yeah, I had those we just had one in the mail.
It was because I went down, after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something I went down became a one-way street. And I guess there was a sign, but it was in Italian, and I can't read Italian.
Italy makes a ton of money off of tickets.
Oh, yeah. But
we had 3 sent to us in the United States after coming back.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me.
And I pay them because the next time you go in, they're going to get you.
Well, no, the next time
Plus
you go,
more.
It will happen the next time I would go to Italy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
And I plan on going back. So.
And probably they'd throw me in jail, and I'd have to pay like $1,000 or something.
Exactly.
Because,
Alex Bennett, live from the Italian
I immediately paid it and said to hell with it, and I'll never go back to Italy again. No, I'll go back to Italy.
This thing in San Francisco is a racket.
Well, I remember I was
parking the red zone, right?
I think I was telling the story the other day about how I was driving through Wyoming a few years back, and all of a sudden a cop stops me and gives me a ticket, and he said it's something like a $300 ticket. He said, but you don't have to show up to pay it. You can just simply mail it in, and here's all the information and so on and so forth. And I said, gee, that's terrible. He says, yeah, I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is a speed trap. And it really exists only to make money for this town that we're in. He was very honest about it.
There are towns in Texas like 90% of their income is speeding tickets.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing. First of all, in California, speed traps are illegal. Mm-hmm. And in California, you would cite somebody with a California vehicle code law, speeding or red light violation or something like that. So the money goes to the state. Mm-hmm. The city gets 5% of the ticket back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which isn't much.
Yeah, well, if you can't have a speed trap though, how do they? If they need to slow people down, how do they manage to do it?
Well, if you're on the freeway, you see the highway patrol going around and across all lanes. If there's somebody speeding or something, they can use radar, a radar gun, or they can. Most of the cars have certified.
Yeah, but you're saying you can't have speed traps, and a city can say, well, we're not a speed trap. We're just trying to keep people from speeding through our lovely little town.
Give tickets, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, how do you say speed traps are against the law? I mean,
well, California speed trap in California means like you're in a police car and you're hiding behind a billboard or something.
I mean, you have to prove their intent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well.
But anyway, what I was saying earlier about Medicare is they just don't. The government doesn't really care about you. This idea that you pay 80% and there's 20% that somehow you have to take care of elsewhere, all right? So for 80%, I pay something like $150 out of my Social Security, all right? For the other 20%, I pay $320, $340.
Well, that's
what's wrong with this picture,
Yep.
It's
a private company.
The reason you don't pay more than 180 is because the whole fucking country, the whole country pays into Medicare.
Well, it is the fucking country.
Yeah, between Charlie and me, we just got you demonetized.
I was watching, there's a great documentary that was done by Judd Apatow. It's 4 hours long on George Carlin. It's on Max if you have it. And I got to tell you, Carlin, when he finally went into his HBO stuff, when I really caught up with him and liked his work, said something. He became more of a philosopher than anything else, and one of the things he brings up is You know, they will take care of you they will take care of you when you are only an embryo. The republic, you know, the government, they'll take care of you as an embryo, but the minute you want an abortion, you can't have it. You've got to, that embryo is sacred, right? And then they take care of the embryo like it was grim death, okay? And then the minute the embryo comes into this world, you're on your own, kid. And he said, and then they don't pay any attention to you until you're 18 years old, and then they decide to draft you and kill you. And that's how much they have believe in the right to life. You know,
Yep.
They'll only protect you when you're in the womb, and then towards the other end, they'll draft you into the army and get you killed. So that's the government. I don't know. It's just I've never been happy with it, and I don't think any of you have either, because it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical all the way around. So, Josh, how are things in your neck of the woods? Where'd that term ever come from? Your neck of the woods. Yeah.
They're not too bad, I suppose.
Oh, okay. Well, I just was trying to strike up a conversation here, and you know.
Your mayor continually is getting himself in deeper trouble.
Oh, our mayor. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad, because I don't like him. You know.
Yeah, he's not a.
Now, if we can only get the governor too. You know, I hate the governor.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
I see. Little weirdo got expelled from Congress. That's
yeah.
Nice.
But how do you feel about that? You know, I mean, there's part of me that goes, "Hey, look, these people out in Long Island elected this guy, so they got what they deserved."
You know, they really didn't elect him because they didn't know who he was.
Well,
he lied about everything.
You know, and start doing your due diligence. You know, start looking into the guy you're voting for. But if nobody did it, if they just believed him at face value, but all I'm saying is, for whatever reason, they voted him in. They should have to suffer with him for 2 years and then vote him out. And they should be the ones to get rid of him.
Fair enough. But you know, it hurts the country having someone in there of such status.
Josh, it hurts the country. Look at the people who are in Congress right now and what they're all about. He couldn't hurt it any worse than some of those guys are. Huh?
You know, or at least several. But you know, it's not good. So, and you know, I think the last round, you know, there were a lot that didn't want to vote for it because they didn't have the ethics report and all that. And there were still some who claimed they were against it on constitutional grounds and all this other nonsense, which is fine.
Well, what's his name? Gates. Gates got up and said he wasn't going to vote against him because not because he believed in him, but just felt that it set a bad precedent for Congress, and that, you know, let's face it, the year the guy's going to be out anyway.
Well, you know, but that's a year, you know, and I mean, what bad precedent does it set
what damage?
That we kick people out of the most prestigious legislative body in the world when they're a known jerk off and criminal?
Again, you use the word prestigious in context with our Congress. Prestigious, well, I mean, our Congress? Are you kidding me?
There's no doubt they're on a bit of a, you know, clown show streak, but you know, I mean, it still is what it is.
Yeah, well,
you know, is meant to be. It's still, you know, the world's leading democracy and world power, and there are less than 600 people in a nation of 375 million that get to do that, and you know, there's no constitutional requirement that he has to be convicted of a crime. It's at their own discretion. So it's not as if, you know, of all the offenses that Congress has committed in the last 5 to 6 years that would just have James Madison sitting upright and bursting through his tombstone, I think that one would be pretty low on the list, you know. I mean, so
yeah, well, I mean, it would be pretty low, but you know, I mean, come on, you know, this guy was a crook. A crook. I mean, he was in a way, he's a pathetic soul because he's obviously a liar, a person who lies all the time, a pathological liar, if you will. But you know, it's kind of like you know what he's all about. It's like there's no hiding what he is. At least he's in Congress, and you know who he is, so you don't do business with him in Congress. You kind of put him all over in the corner and have him act like an elf on a shelf, and just not participate in everything. And then when the time's over with, yes, Jeff's going no, no.
You know, with having some business experience, you got people who you hire, you know, and they do their job, and then all of a sudden they don't do their job at all. So
yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference here, though. I mean, we have a lot of guys in Congress who do not do their job.
Well, that's all right, but
we don't know how many of them don't.
Everything.
We don't know how many of them don't use their money that they got from their minions to get, you know, OnlyFans. We don't know that. We don't know that some of them don't go to Sephora, you know. But this guy did, and they made everything that he did. They went after him on, and they should have. And he was terrible and an ugly, horrible person. And then the worst part was he tried to say he was Jewish. That really bothered me. Okay, you know. But nevertheless, the question still remains. There have only been like 5 people, is it, Josh, who have ever been thrown out by Congress. Now he's the 6th. And 3 of them were because they were in the Confederate Army.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were for, you know, malfeasance. Yes.
Before the show, I watched 30 minutes of CNN, and I was just looking at their website, and there's no mention of Santos being thrown out. It's all about Trump.
Well, I do know that I was watching MSNBC, and that was thank God for MSNBC today that Sandra Day O'Connor died, because they could spend at least 20 minutes on that each hour, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to mention was, you know, I think that.
But this thing they were doing like crazy.
Yeah, I don't care too much about the Santos. I mean, don't get me wrong. The world hasn't been changed or anything. I mean, it you know, it's
right.
I just think it's appropriate, a punishment for his actions. But, you know, really like these folks or dislike these folks, you know, I think that Sandra Day O'Connor and Henry Kissinger, you know, both were certainly giants of their era, you know. Like I said, I'm sure each of them have some things that could be are controversial and, you know, might rub certain people the wrong way. Fair enough. And when you know, write the history of a person's life and legacy, those things are all, you know, fair for the discussion. But, you know, they were
Kissinger,
put Rosalynn Carter in there if you want. I mean, you know, they were
Kissinger. But Kissinger will, I think, be remembered in history for quite a long time for the things he did, for opening up China to the West, and bringing them, embracing them, and getting them to become capitalists. You know, I mean, he did a lot of things which I won't say are necessarily good, but they were significant. And she had a lot of significant decisions, and that she actually led the court into. She was she would rally for something and then bring them in. And by the way, she was a moderate, but she was a Republican.
Yeah.
We forget that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some people do. I mean,
I'll tell you. You know who on the Supreme Court I'm really pissed at? Former person on the Supreme Court. To hell with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay. And I will say that because if this woman had done what I believe, who asked her? Obama asked her to resign so that he could turn around and appoint another left-leaning person onto the court. Because when she did, but she wanted to stay there till she died, so she stayed there till she died. Trump was president. He appointed another conservative. and the whole, Supreme Court got tipped. I think she was. Everybody went, oh, we love Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I think she really, if we lost Roe versus Wade, it's because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
So we didn't know who was going to be in the White House when she died.
What? We didn't know who was going to be in the White House? He was in the White House. He was in the White House.
Alex, sexist.
Get a little feedback in the house.
Yeah. Okay. So, you said Obama asked her to resign.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Was he in office when he was in office when he asked?
Yes, when he asked her.
And she died under Trump.
And she died.
But she had cancer
while Obama was president.
She had pancreatic cancer, so she was
Cancer for like 20 years.
What are you saying, Pam?
I'm saying I'm surprised you're making this comment. I think it's a little sexist because no one ever saying that a man should pull out early. Excuse the pun there.
Well, I've had women ask me to pull out early, so
I poor choice of words.
No, it's not sexist because I if it were a man, I'm just saying that she stayed in office too long. And got to a point where Trump could appoint a person to replace her.
Well, she could have retired right before the election, and Obama could have
appointed somebody.
The problem is the Republicans controlled the Senate, and they sat on when Scalia died. They sat on that for 10 months without a poll approving. They never would have approved anybody if Ruth Bader Ginsburg had resigned. They never would have approved one. I don't care if she resigned the first year of Obama's presidency. They would never have approved her.
Well, speaking about that, you know what happens now to Santos's seat?
Special election, yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to be a special election. I heard today the governor could appoint.
No, you cannot appoint a representative.
Really?
They have to represent the people. They have to be elected.
Is that correct, Josh?
Jeff, could you move over a little bit so Pam can sit with you?
Yeah, she's busy right now. Look, I'll show you what she's doing.
I like the way she thinks.
I'm putting lights on my trees, guys. Sorry.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're Jewish and you have a Christmas tree?
The Hanukkah bush.
Going to Jewish hell.
Wait a minute. Is Pamela Jewish?
No.
Oh, well, then she can have a tree. Then she can have a tree. Okay.
Thank you.
You married a goyim, huh?
Shiksa. Oh my God. Yeah.
Hey, what wasn't the thing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that she had terminal cancer and there wasn't much time left. I hate saying this.
No, actually, she survived.
No, near the end of Obama's presidency, I'm talking about.
But
she lived for almost 4 years after that.
Yeah, she didn't die until 2 weeks before the election.
Yeah, in fact, everybody.
No, I'm just. But what I'm saying is she could have left a few months earlier before she died. I mean, that was the whole. She was really sick.
Well, she had pancreatic cancer, but everybody was amazed at how long she had it.
Yeah, she lasted.
Yeah, because it got caught early.
Yeah.
She would have had to retire in 2016 in order for Obama to replace her. Right. She didn't die until 2020.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. Okay,
and it would.
I get it. Yeah.
And then he could have had somebody in there, and that court would not have been loaded when it was.
But she had the right as a U.S. Supreme Court justice to stay there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not
saying she should have.
I'm saying that for the good of the country, the good of the party, the good of all the laws in our country, it would have been good of her to do it at that time so that Obama could then appoint someone to the.
But we thought Hillary was going to get the presidency.
Forget about that. You know what he was thinking was, you're not well, you're old. If you leave now, I can then appoint a new Supreme Court justice.
And then the Republicans would ignore that.
Well, no, because it was a little earlier than that. I remember what they did with what's his name, the guy who's now the head of the Justice Department. You know, but I mean, it's just, you know, well, anyway. So.
In fact, Mitch O'Connell, what's his name? He said that they would not, if Hillary won, they would go the whole 4 years without appointing a justice. He said that before the election in 2016.
Well, you know, I just think, you know, what kind of person is it who is given that very important job of doing the people's work, who then threatens that kind of thing? I mean, it just seems like that should, I don't know, you can't make a law against it, but there should be some rules against it, that in cases like that, they can't sit there and, is it filibustering? I don't know, but whatever, prevent a vote for...
filibustering. He just won't bring up the nomination.
That's right.
He's the head of the Senate.
Well, you know what's great about...
He decides what comes before the Senate.
He knew he could postpone it because the election was...
So do you think these idiots out in Long Island are going to put in another conservative? Or do you think they finally say, you know, that didn't work out too well? You know, and if a good moderate is running, they'll vote for him? Or do you think we're stuck with...
Sure, they're expected to be, you know, kind of a close 50-50, which it was last time, I believe. I don't really think that
Santos didn't win by
won by a very large margin. I mean, he won, but, you know, not by a large margin. So I'm sure it's be competitive. I don't know how the
Biden won that district by like 16 points.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a whole... did he win that district?
That district, yeah. That they crossed lines to vote for Santos against...
Yeah, I don't really remember. I didn't think it was by that much. You know, maybe it was, you know, if I'm wrong.
Well, New York is a very liberal state, but you get outside of New York City, and there's some areas that are...
Long Island, it's more conservative.
It's more conservative, but not as much as if you go to upstate New York, where you go into some communities, you know, and if you have anything but a Trump bumper sticker, they boo you out of town, you know. But New York City is so huge and so large and is so liberal, you know, that pretty much this state can always be counted on to vote for the Democrat. Yeah. Yes, Ray.
So Santos comes from Long Island?
Yeah.
So I find it really interesting that he tells all these lies over stupid, meaningless things that really don't matter. And then yet when Trump lies about stuff that's really important, which we all know he's done thousands of times, they make excuses for him and say that he's not lying.
Well, I think the only thing Trump ever said that was very real and very right, and we all joked about it, is that he could kill somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it.
Yeah.
I honestly believe he could right now.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. He could.
These people are cults. They're cult members. I
mean, they're having to stall everything with him, you know? And they're all questioning what's going to happen, and maybe Josh can attack this question, tend to this question, is if he becomes president, and they haven't had these trials yet, can he prevent them from happening?
Well, yeah, I don't think he can prevent them. No, he doesn't have any power to.
Yeah, but do you
certainly not the state trials.
He's federal ones he could with the justice system will work for him. Couldn't he just stop the trials?
Doesn't have. I mean, no, he doesn't.
I mean, could he? Yeah, but could he fire the head of the Justice Department, put in his own person, and have them drop the case?
I thought so.
I mean, sure he can. You can ask.
Make sure he appoints somebody.
Okay, let's say he did that. Okay, or attempted to do that. Do you think the American public would yell and scream about that?
I would hope.
You would hope, but do you think they will? That's the question.
I think a decent amount of people would, yes.
Okay.
Well, he can't do it with the state ones, for sure. I don't think.
No, he can't.
Well,
he can't.
the one in Georgia, he can't do anything about, and of course,
he can't do the ones in New York either.
Well, the civil.
And then
case
if there's one in Arizona, you can't do that if that happens.
Yeah, but in the New York case, New York case is wonderful. I love the New York case because what it did is it showed the public that the emperor has no clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that he's been saying what a billionaire he is all these years, and he's been lying through his teeth.
Yeah.
It hit him right in his identity.
Well, it hit him where it hurt him the most.
Yeah.
Because his only business was saying to somebody, "Oh, very nice building you're putting up there. You want to name it after me? Pay me $1 million." And then they would slap the Trump name on the building. Now they're chiseling them off, you know.
Yeah.
But the fact was, his main business was the Trump name. He's even said it in some of these cases. The case in New York, they said, well, the Trump name is worth something. It's worth many billions of dollars. And that's what we're selling is the Trump name. And that business is gone. He can't do that now, you know. I know people that moved into a building here in New York. It was a Trump apartment building. It said Trump on the outside. They sued to get that name removed because they felt, since these were condos, that the worth of their apartment was diminished by his name being on the building. And they made their case and they forced it off, you know. So, oh yeah. But anyway, what a crazy time we live in. I keep saying that, you know, extraordinary times.
Well, it's only because you have Trump derangement syndrome. If you didn't have that, everything would be fine.
Yeah. Yes, Alan.
Interesting times. Hamas goes into Israel yesterday. 2 brothers jump out of their car and kill 3 people at a bus stop. They get back in their car, and 1 military person and somebody with a concealed weapon permit killed them both.
Yep.
Instant justice. You know, after all the trouble that Hamas is having on the West Bank, they would allow some of their people to go into Israel and kill people at a bus stop.
Well,
I mean,
you know something, I'm wondering, and this is not taking pity on Hamas. Don't take it at that. No. But I wonder how much control Hamas has over some of these people. I mean, if let's say 2 guys go into Israel, decide they're going to shoot up people at a bus stop, and then they get killed, what's Israel going to claim? Oh, they're Hamas. Well, they might not be Hamas, or they might be one of the fringe groups, because I think there's a certain element of this that Hamas can't control. You know, a lot of some of those hostages are not being held by Hamas.
Right.
They're being held by many of these other fringe groups. And Hamas can say, okay, well, we took good care of these people. We were good about it. All right.
We sold them. Yeah.
Yeah, but they gave them to other people too, and we don't know how well those people took care of them. So that's why these people in Israel are suffering, and I think it was too early to stop the idea of a temporary truce until we got as many people out of there as we possibly could. I think the hostages are of prime concern, you know.
Netanyahu said, release everybody and we'll stop the fight and we'll go to negotiating. But Hamas
did he? I didn't hear him say that.
No, me either.
It was in the news 3-4 weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago, this thing had just barely started.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I never heard anything of the sort. You know, all I've heard out of Netanyahu is that he's kept quiet for a while because everybody was coming down on Israel for the way they were killing people in Gaza, and he came to some kind of accommodation where he got some of the people out. But I don't think he wanted to stop that fighting. I think he wanted to just decimate that whole country.
Yeah, he did.
You know.
He never said anything about the hostages the whole time they were bombing everything out of it.
Well, my first concern, let's say I was the head of Israel, okay? My first concern would be the hostages.
Yeah.
And I don't know that bombing is necessarily going to help the hostages because I might be bombing places where there are hostages. I don't know where they are.
It's pretty rare that hostages get released in things like this.
Well, if it's very rare, this is a very rare exception. And,
I agree.
And Hamas so far has been pretty good about it. And you have to admit that while it's got to have been a terrifying situation, most of those people coming out of there look like they're pretty damn healthy.
Yeah, we'll see.
What do you mean we'll see?
Also,
what's the thing that it's not called the Helsinki syndrome? There's a syndrome where
Stockholm
syndrome.
That has to.
That's when you join the bad guys.
Yeah, but now that you're loose, you're not part of the bad guy. Here's the thing.
No, it's not a matter of joining. No, it's a matter of mental.
That's what I meant. I mean, you mentally get brainwashed and you.
Yeah, but right. Forget about that. I'm talking about how they look. They looked healthy. They didn't look as though they'd been
beaten or anything.
And they were deprived of food, and but it wasn't held back on purpose. I don't think anybody in Gaza had food, So I mean, but the point was that I think that you want to get the hostages out, and you don't want to start bombing places where you think the hostages might be.
They might have already killed some hostages.
Well, some hostages may have died already from bombs.
From the bombs.
Yeah. So I mean, and we don't know. We don't know those other groups. They may be more wild than Hamas is. Hamas at least has some political structure. These side groups don't have any.
Yep.
And that's I'm worried for the people who are being held by those people. Did you see the footage of the Hamas showing up at the hospital with a guy with a big wound in his chest on a stretcher? Yeah, and and Israel tried to portray this as, look, see, they do. Their headquarters are in that hospital. No, what they did is they had somebody who was terribly wounded, and they took him to the hospital.
They don't know if he was Israeli or not.
I don't know if he was necessarily, but he was one of the hostages.
Okay.
And so Hamas worked on one level because they've been a political leader in that part of the world, and then they've got to also keep these other side groups in tow. So you don't know, what's a renegade group and what isn't a renegade group. And it's again, what I call, and the term has been made many times, and I agree with, the fog of war. Everything gets hazy. There is no truth. You can't believe anything in that kind of fog of war. Yeah. Yes, Ray.
What is so confusing to me is I'm assuming it was Hamas who carried out these October 7th
which were
killings.
Horrendous.
Yes. Yeah. And then something happens, and then maybe it's just you're getting the shit bombed out of you, but then you turn around and you turn in hostages that are treated well. I don't understand how both of those things can happen at the same time.
The one thing that
I find it so odd.
The one thing that looked very strange to me, I don't know if any of you saw it, there was this one woman who was kidnapped as a hostage, and she was released. And apparently when she was, I think, one of the women that was at the rock festival. And she had these, and I saw them, she was walking, when she was let go, she ran to the arms of whoever. She had on these incredible designer shoes. Okay, now I don't blame her for having designer shoes. I'm just amazed that she was kidnapped, held hostage, and those designer shoes looked in great condition.
Yeah.
I was just amazed by it. I would have thought
that's the kind of thing that just blows my mind. I don't understand there's something we're not getting here.
I think what we're missing here is Hamas is releasing the people that look healthy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
the people that are not doing well, Hamas is not releasing them.
You think for propaganda purposes?
Well, they have let a couple of people out who were ill.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I would say you get 250 some odd people, and how many of them are going to wind up being healthy? throughout this entire experience. I mean, there's an old lady they let go who had medical problems.
Yeah.
Okay. But how many people in there have medical problems? There's a guy in there who had his hand blown off, and he hasn't been returned yet. Is he alive? Is he alive? Is he dead? You know, you're right. I mean, they're gonna let go of the healthiest people first.
That's right, for propaganda reasons.
Yeah. So they could be mistreating or torturing the other ones, and then just releasing these and making it look like they're the good guys.
Well, I think if the mistreatment,
to get sympathy from the world, I guess.
I think Hamas, though, as terrible as they are very sophisticated in PR. And I think they realized that they had to treat these hostages like they were gold so that they would be able to get them back home eventually looking healthy. All right? But they gave away a certain number of these people. I think maybe 100 is it estimated, maybe, to other groups. And they have no control over those groups. And that's the problem there. They couldn't send back a lot of people because they don't have them. So it's, but it's all fog of war stuff. And please don't think that I'm defending Hamas, because I'm not, okay? There's no way you can defend Hamas. It would be idiotic of you to defend Hamas and for their actions. But you've also got to, I think, go after Israel as well for the decimation of 10,000 people. It's just overkill. Yeah. It's overkill.
And 75% of the population has been displaced, at least.
Has been displaced. That's the other fact.
At least 70. That's incredible.
And, I mean, certainly these kids are going to grow up and not be any friends of Israel. You can bet your life on that.
And what about the trauma they've gone through? The children.
Well, there are about 4,000 children that were killed.
Yeah.
So imagine how many survived.
Yeah. Injured and traumatized, and oh my God.
They already showed in the news a couple kids trying to throw they lit a fuse and throwing at the military guys, and the military guys took action immediately, not even waiting to see what would happen with it, and shot and killed both the kids.
Really?
It was on the news yesterday.
Well, I didn't see that either, but I'll have to.
Well, I don't know. Wait, if whatever it is that they're throwing at you, maybe a gas grenade or something to joke around. You kill these kids. It wasn't close to you. Let it go off. Take cover. Let it go off. I mean, if it ends up being something that could harm you, and they throw another one, that then stop them. But
yeah,
I think they're a little trigger happy.
Well, I think both countries are trigger happy. Come on.
Yeah,
both of them.
I think so.
And somebody's got to get in there and just say, everybody, cool it, calm down.
I'm sure the Israeli troops are terrified too. I mean, could you imagine just being a grunt walking in there? Oh my God.
Well, imagine just people on both sides.
So the people that are going door to door.
And nobody's getting in the middle and saying, kids, knock it off. Let's just calm down. Let's get this thing solved. Let's give these people a two-state solution like they've been asking for a long time. And let's make sure that the best way to keep Israel safe is by inclusion of the Palestinians into the world.
I think they ought to take the governor of Texas and let him control the Palestinian people after this is over with. Perfect job for him and his.
I can't figure that joke out, but I'll figure it out later. You maybe can diagram it for me and send it to me.
Okay, no problem. It wasn't meant to be.
Anyway, hey, listen, we've run out of time here. Jeff, thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. Josh, we didn't get too terribly political tonight, but you've been helpful on Supreme Court stuff, and I really appreciate your participation on Friday nights. Thanks to, of course, Charlie, and thanks to our good friend Alan. And Ray, it's great to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
And everybody should give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you as we say goodnight to them. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Citizen Panel. There'll be another one next on the Jack Bishop Show called The Intersection. And what he'll be doing is taking your calls on Skype at Gabnet Live. Skype, Gabnet Live. I'll see you again Monday on the pop-up show, which will be on Facebook, and then we'll see you again on Wednesday night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody.